Here there's tons of trees, so all that settles down in here. Oh, hello, I have a cat helping me. Alright, first stop of the day. We're out in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. We've got this pond. It's usually down to a trickle when I get here. Today it actually looks like it's running okay. I'm gonna pull both pumps out of the skimmer and we'll see how much flow we can actually get out of that. You can see the wetlands down to a trickle and all those plants have really filled in. So that's definitely a good thing because this pond has not gotten a clean out this year. You can definitely see all the debris all in here and I haven't even taken anything apart yet. So get that cleaned out. So another neat quirk about this stop is, as you can see here, it's a little covered in gunk, but both of the pumps that are in the skimmer, there's two pumps in the skimmer, one goes to the wetland over there, one goes to the biofalls over there. They are both labeled with colored zip ties. I started doing this, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. I wanted to get a color coding system, not only to be able to label the outlet box over there so you can unplug the right pump when you need to change it out or service it, whatever, but also, you can't tell without cleaning it off, but when you take off the check valve, you'll be able to, I don't know if you can see that, you'll be able to line up the colors and get the right pump onto the right plumbing so that it feeds the right one, because they're two different pumps and you don't want to swap your flow. They'll still both run, but they're different sizes for different reasons. Another quick thing that I like to do while I'm on maintenances, especially this pond, is I'll take a small net and scoop all of the mulm that settles at the bottom of the skimmers once I pull out the pumps. And like I said, there's the color-coded zip ties so that we can get them back on the right plumbing. But yeah, I like to take a net so I can scoop out all that so it doesn't clog the pump any more than it already is, and I'll clean those off while I'm here as well. As you can see, I haven't gotten everything. I just did probably 7 or 8 scoops of this just to get all the big debris that's settled down in there. The biggest thing is to get all of this stuff that's gonna clog up your pump. You want to get that all out of the bottom of the skimmer so that it doesn't clog it when you hook the pumps back in. Any of this real fine stuff, that'll wind up going through the filter, and then your biofalls, and if you have a wetland on it, those will both break down that smaller stuff into nitrate and into ammonia and then nitrite and nitrate so that the plants can feed off of it. So the smaller stuff I'm not too worried about. I could go in there with a finer net and scoop all of it out and make it crystal clear, but I'm not that concerned about it. If you're like us and you use aquascape products and you have an aquasurge, these cages are really easy to pop off. And I say really easy, it's not really easy to pop it off by hand, but I'll just take this giant screwdriver that I have and wedge it right in here onto the side. Once you find a little pocket, you get that in there, you just twist it, and then this whole cage will just pop right off. So then you take the whole cage off, and then you can see the inner cage, this part spins off. You want to make sure that you check these all the time, especially if you're in an area where you get a lot of debris. Here there's tons of trees, so all that settles down in here. Oh, hello, I have a cat helping me. So you want to spin that off, and you want to check in here to check your impeller. That looks pretty good, and it's spinning freely, so that one's good. I have found these on this pond specifically, and at other ponds I've found that these look clean, but the impeller in here is impacted with a bunch of stuff and it's just right down to a trickle. So you want to make sure that you check all of those if you're inspecting your pumps. Okay, so I wasn't going to film this, but this is a perfect example of this. I cleaned this off. This was perfectly clean. There was no debris on it. But as I spun it off just to check it, because it's procedure and something that I do every time that I'm here, you can see right in there, that is super compacted with debris. So I'll pull that out with my finger. I'll take the screwdriver and get that all cleaned up and then put back together. Alrighty, so that is nice and cleaned out. So there I am. So you tend to see this in lower flow pumps. So this one's a 2000. The other one that I have right here, this one feeding the biofalls, is a 2 to 4,000 gallons per hour pump. They're both Aqua Surges from Aquascape, and you'll tend to see this in the lower pumps. They'll clog up a little bit easier. The best explanation I can come up with is that with the lower flow, debris settles rather than just getting chewed up by the pump and shooting into the biofalls or the wetland filter. So you definitely want to check your pumps every time that you're doing maintenance on a pond. Whether we're doing maintenance or you are, we always do it. So it's important that if you are checking your pumps that you take everything apart and make sure that it's not the impeller that's clogged up as well. So another question that we get fairly often, and people are somewhat embarrassed to ask it, is how do I put my skimmer back together? I got everything out, or I got the filter pad out, and I cleaned my pumps, but how do I put it back together? It just doesn't fit right. So I'll run through that. Might be a little tricky to do with one hand, but basically what you do is you take your tray. If you have two pumps, it makes it a little trickier sometimes to get this set down in here, but you want to get that tray set all the way down into the groove at the bottom. There's a space for it to sit. Some of the trays have two prongs where it wants to sit under it. Other ones there's just a lip on this skimmer. There's just a lip at the bottom. So I'll pause this and I'll get that set in so I'm not struggling on camera. Okay, so I got it all set in there, and you'll notice it does float a little bit. As long as it stays flat, so that when you put your media down on top of it and it doesn't get all crooked, that's okay. It's totally fine. So once you get your tray in there, you're gonna put your pump or pumps in there. Gonna be a little difficult with one hand, but basically you just slip them down. I usually go bottom half in, and then you slide that into this back slot down here. Make sure that they don't get tangled and whatnot. And see, that one wants to go here, but since I have it labeled, I don't know if you can see that, since I have it labeled, they're different colors, I know that it doesn't go over there. So that's something that's helped me a lot, because I've gotten confused and hooked up the pump to the wrong side, and I'm like, oh, well, why is the wetland running better now and the biofalls isn't? So that's one, and then here's the second one. Again, you want to try to stick that bottom part in first, get that set in there. And then you're going to want to line up your check valves. Some of the newer check valves, the 2.0 check valves, have a little collar on them so that this part will slip in. These are just flat, so you got to basically line it up real good and then spin the collar on. So let me get it started and then I'll show you how that works. All right, so like I said, you want to get the end of your check valve and align that right up with the other part. And then you take this collar and you slip that on. You have to make sure that these are lined up perfectly and then twist that on. And it's, like I said, hard to do with one hand, but you hold those both on and take your other hand and spin this collar. So over here, you should be able to see, I don't know how well you can see it underwater, but that's going to spin really freely. If you get resistance, that is a sign that you're cross threading. You definitely don't want to cross thread these, because then they'll leak. There's actually the little rubber gasket in there. Also make sure that this is in here, because these fall out occasionally and then they'll get stuck at the bottom of your skimmer, and then your pumps won't be leaking all over the place, but they will be leaking in your skimmer. So it's not gonna cause any water loss, but it's gonna be less flow in your filtration. Alrighty, so I've got both pumps hooked up. These collars are nice and tight, only hand tight. Don't use channel locks or anything. You don't want to over tighten these and it be impossible for the next guy to get them off. So that means it's time to fire it on, right? No, forgot to put on our filter media. So what you're going to want to do with that, you're going to want to take that. This one is a white pad. It's a little bit thinner filtration than you'd normally have, or finer filtration rather, than you would normally have in a skimmer. Unfortunately, with this pond, the amount of debris that we get in here, the green pads, they don't prevent any of this fine tree debris and mulch from clogging the pump, so we swapped it out for one of the finer filter medias. So once you get that in, then you get your skimmer. This is one of the basket skimmers with the clips. So you're just going to slip that right into the front. And if everything is lined up properly, which it should be, this will line right up perfectly. These don't actually clip, they just kind of hang on there. Don't push them too hard, these are very fragile. And then, now we're ready to fire on our pumps. So I will leave the lid off of that for now and go turn on the pumps. Alrighty, so pumps are turned on. Flip you around so you can see all that nice flow in there, and all that debris that you saw earlier is already getting sucked down through that filter pad. You want to make sure that these are set as tight as possible around your pumps so that debris doesn't get around them and clog up your pumps, because filter media that has ability for it to go around doesn't function as well as it's supposed to. Alright, so my next order of business, I'm going to test the water, I'm going to pull some string algae, and then I'm going to head out of here. So that has been how to service and put back together your skimmer. My name is Alex from Land Vista Aquascapes, and if you enjoyed this video, hit that like, subscribe to our channel to see more, and leave a comment below if you have any suggestions, tips, you know, any feedback. So there's the waterfall coming on. Have a great day. Catch you later.